So one good evening to all. Thank you all, for joining this wonderful session. So, Trivandrum is hosting a Achievers Meet today. So we have, CLAT 2021 Achievers. Plus, we have some, extra guests over here, who are, for previous achievers who have done well, who are in NLS. From that, they are doing well in corporate life, doing well with NGO. So I have, I'm personally welcoming all of you to the session. Now, a special thanks for all the guest speakers for joining. So I have Abdul Saha over here, uh, Gada, Krishnapriya over here, Shweta, one of our very special guest, AR Force Shweta is here, Narendra AR 376 is here. I have Krishnapriya is there. So others I'll add as co-host. Moving on. So I will hand over this session to a very, very special guest. I can tell obviously the star of the show, Jijo sir. Sir, please.
Hi. I'm not the star. Why are you calling me the star? They are the stars. But what I want to ask sort of one other thing. Therefore, in terms of why do you guys want this so badly? Then I think to do what Bharat did, or do what Shweta did, or do what Krishna did, or do what Arundhati did, you guys, and I think that why would you do what you did? And the kind of effort that you guys put, at least I've spoken to Arundhati, Bharat and Shweta. I have not spoken to you, Krishna Priya. I had taken these guys' interview. Okay. Or at least I was a part of that the thing. And therefore, I know what the kind of effort that you put. I'm sure that you would also put in a lot of effort. So let me start with you. Why was this goddamn important to you?
So when I was in my 11th grade, so my parents wanted me to do this MBBS, the NEET one. And when I took a PCM, I understood that I can't do this. Physics, chemistry, I can't do this. Then then I got to know about this law because my uncle, he's a legal advisor in KSP pumps. He did his LLM from NUS Singapore. So I got to know about this law, and I thought this as a backup option because I can't do this NEET. So then I went to the coaching. Then I read about. I just went through it. Then I thought this is good. I mean, this was worth. Then in the 12th and Corona and all came, so I couldn't concentrate on my CLAT coaching, CLAT exam. Then I thought, let's do the repeat and give it a try. I got it.
Wonderful. So this is you rebelled against.
Yes, sir. Everybody is like, mother is a doctor, then you also should be a doctor. Then everybody is like junior doctor and all that. And I told I can't be a doctor. It is so hard.
No, even being a lawyer it's not a question of easy, no?
It's about I was not passionate about this doctorate, this stuff, because it is like everybody is going for this only, right? Like NEET and MBBS. I wanted to try different, so I just got into law.
Apparently 19 lakhs the number of people who take that NEET exam.
Yeah.
Number of people taking law, 72,000 applied, 10,000 decided we'll not take only. So 60,000 took the test. That is that is a story. All right, so I'll come to Shweta. Why did you want this? You are a rank 4. I think Shweta, special congratulations. I think you made Kerala proud. So Shweta, yeah. Why did you want this badly?
Yeah, sir. So actually, my end goal, like main goal, was UPSC. So I was confused what to do. So my father suggested that law is a good option. So for CLAT 2020, law was just a good option. I was just fascinated with the cities of Bangalore, Hyderabad, and Calcutta. And I was like, I won't go to Hyderabad because it's away. The campus is away from the town area. So I just want to be free and all of that. So actually, my respect for this whole field developed through my CLAT 2021 preparation. Like a lot of stuff, and I think I have said this earlier, because all professions contribute to the society, right? But I think law is something which is more closer to the people, and I think we are the like we provide people remedy, right? So when they have a problem, we are in that position where we give remedy. So I think maybe that's what interested me, and we are aware of the problems. We are like law students are always aware about other people are, but then it's more imperative for us to be aware of what's going around and all that stuff. Yeah. So my initial thing was just the option. So I have to do something else. I need a degree. But then this thing, like all my respect, and I researched more during my CLAT 2021
I think the
preparation.
first time you attempted, you took it, and then you started
Yeah.
fell in love with it, and then you said,
Yeah,
I
yeah,
want to do
exactly.
something about it.
Yes,
Oh,
yes, yes,
interesting.
yes.
Arundhati?
I'm the third generation law aspirant in my family, starting from my granddad. So he said, okay, you should try CLAT because I'm really good at defending my arguments. So they said,
Your granddad suggested CLAT.
yes,
Granddad.
yes,
Malab, your father's father
yes,
suggested CLAT.
yes.
I think we should meet him and. Okay, so a special. Okay, carry on, please.
So yeah, so he said you're really good at defending your arguments. This tarkutrakari in that you're really good at tarkifying and all. So he said you should try it. So yes, and then I looked into the syllabus and all, and then I got interested into CLAT. So that's how. So law was my plan.
I'm saying, Bharat, are you very Tarkify also? What is your law interest?
Sir, so it's not a simple question for me to answer because when I got into the exam, it was just that I enjoyed reading quite a bit. I used to read a lot. I loved speaking, so naturally, and I love the syllabus of CLAT too. It was easy enough for me. But I think my love for law really blossomed only in law school and more specifically in Noals. I think Gokul can attest to it because we were batchmates for a year. It was a lot of fun. Like the 1 year was a lot of fun, and I feel like nothing quite matches law school. The transformative process you go through, the kind of stuff it lets you do, like the broad spectrum of things it gives you, and also you change at an individual level, and you also are able to manifest a change to society. And I think it's just so broad, and there's so much to explore in that. And I fell in love with it, pakka, like that 1 year. And NLS was an obsession for me because a lot of the people who inspired me into taking law, they were from this college. So it's like, okay, this is something genuinely love, and these stalwarts of the legal profession are from here. So what would be the experience studying here? I think my drive for making NLS came from that curiosity.
Wonderful. Abhiru, I was thinking that today's situation itself, it's people are unaware. Your time, how was it? And was it similar or very different when you took the CLAT? Sorry.
Yeah. People were really unaware about it, but we did have a lot of students in CL. So to that extent, I mean, I guess you can't really expect too much from Trivandrum also. In fact, we didn't even have a center to write CLAT in our year. So I had to travel to Kochi and all of that. So things have improved for sure.
So then what motivated you to do CLAT or to law?
So I was actually fully into doing engineering. I went to Math IIT, if any of you might have heard of it. You know, I can probably like work my ass out and then make it to some NIT. But instead of that, to some extent, it was purely a cost benefit calculation where I figured that making it to NLS would be relatively easier. And I would also manage to have a life in 11th and 12th. So that was an important factor for me. But of course, how I became aware that CLAT in itself was a thing was through my brother who had attempted CLAT before me. He was also a CL student.
Okay.
He went to NLU Odisha.
Okay.
So yeah. So because of that, I sort of knew that such a thing existed.
Sir, your brother did a lot of the work, and I think that created opportunities for you.
Yeah. I mean, when I broke the news at my home that I don't want to do engineering and I want to do law, there was a lot of bullshit going on, but had to navigate through it. It was fine, good time, in retrospect.
Okay, so what is your story? What made you get into law?
I was sort of always interested in working for social justice. I think I sort of had that inclination from when I was a bit young as well. So I it's always sort of saw myself either studying journalism or law, or maybe doing studying history, political science. So those were the subjects that I was genuinely interested in. I think when I went to CL, when I heard, so we had an NUJS graduate actually, Kiran sir, who was speaking in NUJS at that, who was speaking in CL at that time, who was giving us a class. Um, I was sort of hoping to, saw that I can use law as a tool to sort of work towards what I want to work.
I think Gokul, what's your story?
My story is pretty funny in a way because it wasn't a very direct decision. I decided to take law first when I was in 10th, I think. And then I convinced my dad and mom about it, and they went to career launch at Trivandrum and bought the books and came home. And then I told them, no, I'm going to do medicine because I really like science. And this was actually because I wanted to stay in my school, Loyola, but my ulterior motive was, I mean, I will do CLAT later on. But then slowly I went back into medicine. I thought I'll really do medicine, but somewhere along the line, I think when I reached 12th, I decided that medicine was a very niche subject to go into. While law has a lot more of a holistic kind of education that gives, like Bharat knows this guy. A friend of mine, he wanted to be a pilot, but when he was in his 11th or 12th or something, he did an eye test and he found out that he couldn't be a pilot medically. And because of that, he took law so that he can take aviation law and work with airline companies. So it's such a field that lets you go into anything. Like if you like medicine, but you cannot become a doctor, you can take medical law. So there are things that you can do in fields that you really like, even through law. So it is with that idea basically that I took law, and it's after joining law school that I discovered the beauty of law and what the law actually is. So right now I'm very much fascinated by law, and I read up on a lot of legal scholars and all of them, and I dream about it every day. But then that was not the reason why I had this decision in the first place. So yeah, this is my story.
Okay, wonderful. All right, so I will ask one thing, and then I will leave it to you so that you can then discuss about your preparation, other thing that you did. So apart from CLAT, how many other exams did you take? So you can just name anything else you take. Anyone took other exams apart from CLAT? Yeah. Sweta, what all did you take?
I took CLAT, ALET, LSAT. Then I wrote, I had filled a lot more forms, KLE for Kerala law entrance, and I had also filled HSE. But then by that time I got into LSAT, so I did not write those exams.
So you took 4 tests. And Ashwin?
Sir, I gave CLAT, ALET, then HSEE. It was yesterday actually. Then CUSAT law entrance. That's it. Nothing else. 4 entrance exams.
In Bharat case, you are already in a law school, right? So doesn't make sense to do anything other than that. What about you, Krishna Priya?
Sir, I gave CLAT, then IELT, then SLAT, symbiosis.
All right, Arundhati. So one of the reasons why I said this, and I wanted to share this with everyone, is that there is someone who gets a rank of 1,000, and that person feels bad. Someone who gets a rank of 2,000, and that person today feeling bad. And I've always wondered why. What is the logic? There are 60,000 people taking the test. The person who got a rank of 2,000 is top 3%. In which world does a top 3% feels bad? Then I look back and say there are 21 national universities in this country. All the 21 national universities put together has got 1,500 seats. What is this? Imagine each IIT having 50 seats, 100 seats. Imagine MBA colleges having 100 seats. So there are colleges like Jindal Global Law School, which has 900 seats. And a lot of people say, look, they're making money. But I'm asking a different question. They are making career of 900 kids. There is Symbiosis University, which has got 720 seats in all the campus put together. NMS Mumbai has got 600 kids. What are these national universities doing? Every year, new national university used to pop up, and I'm saying, wonderful, this is wonderful news. I'm thinking it's not a wonderful news. You are just adding the colleges. You add seats, no? Each national university should have 300 seats. No, what is the difference between the top ranked student and a 300 ranked student? What is the difference? Both of them would have slogged very well, and for that matter, 600 rank or 1,000 rank. So every school should have 300 seats. The 2,000 ranked students should get into the 7th rank colleges, is my take. Now it is not there. One general advice that I want to give all participants who are watching this, please take all tests. Right? Take all tests. Because at the end of the day, you'll start seeing that there are a lot of good colleges. Yes, you would want to be in the top college. You would want to be there. But how many seats are there now in Bangalore? Open?
So 120 overall. I think in merit it goes goes up till 78, 80, not more than that. General category.
The top national university in this country has got 120 seats. I just don't understand. So please, yeah.
Tejo sir, there is also Parvati, who's our mentor as well. She was AR 14. We didn't ask Parvati. Probably you didn't see.
So I didn't see only Parvati. So you should have come on and. So I don't know anyone. I don't know anyone.
Yeah, this is Parvati.
Yeah. Sorry, I joined a little late because I was having some issues with my internet.
Oh, wonderful. You are AR 14. There is one more 14. You're 15 here. So we have got all kind of people here. Wonderful. So before I close it and close my discussion, is that one advice that I have is please take all tests. Did you get into admission to the Jindal, Shweta, before CLAT?
No, sir, I did not take the admission, but I got an offer letter.
ठीक है ना? It's offer. Before even think CLAT, you get offer. That is one advice that I have. So Parvati, you are what? 2016 you took the CLAT.
Yes, 2016.
So currently you are in what?
I just finished my 5th year, so like I'm just graduating now.
So what is step 2? Did you get a job, or you're getting into judiciary? You're doing something else. You want to be what is the plan?
No, so I didn't sit for placements because I'm not exactly interested in doing anything in the corporate field. So right now I'm just taking some time off to try and figure out what I want to do best, and I'm thinking of writing the UPSC. So just preparing for that.
So I would hand it over to Midun, and I wish you all the very best. There is one thing that I would like to tell all the audience: when you start listening to them, people tend to believe that the people who make it are people from different planet, alien, some special creatures. Then you realize that these are all we are like all of us are similar in nature. Only difference is that they would have done some certain things differently. And my gut feeling is they would have slogged. This is my gut feeling. They would have worked really hard. This is my feeling. I'm not too sure if it is true. You can probably ask the rest of them as well. And they would have done certain things differently. I'm probably guessing that these people have good reading habit. How many of you have good reading habit? Reads well. All right. So I think we see that all the five hands have gone up. Okay, that is number one. My guess because CLAT is a comprehension paper, and I'm guessing that these people have taken at least 20 mock tests, maybe even more. I'm sure that you've taken a lot of mock tests. Bharat has a different story. Bharat has a unique story. We have taken an interview. That is the second thing they would have done. And third thing I'm asking, that you would have pained your teacher, if you would have called your teachers or whoever is your mentor, called and asked or got something. Anyone did that? Oh, okay. There are some people who will use that and use the resources that is there. So everybody has got resources. These people do things differently, and that's what makes people topper. It is not that they are born toppers. And you can probably interact with Abhirup, Gokul, Parvati, and also Gada, who will tell their perspective and tell their story. I wish you all the very best. So I hand it over to you, Midun, and you can take for the discussion. I wish you all the very best. And I know for a fact that all people in Trivandrum, you are in safe hands. These two gentlemen here, Midun, Vishnu, and now I know Parvati is also part of the story. I think they work really hard. I've seen that they work really hard for you guys. And I think that they tell you the truth. They don't handle things. They genuinely work very hard. These are at heart, all these are teachers. So all of you are in pretty safe hand. I'm sure that this year, since I'm here, probably I'll come once the pandemic is over. Maybe I'll come and see you guys, participate and say hi to you guys, and maybe in some ways help you guys also. All right. I'll see you guys. Bye.
Thank you, sir. So I'll take this over. So I think Abhirup told me before the session, he was busy with some work. He had some work. So Abhirup, what I would like to know is, like, you wrote the examination, the old pattern, right? You can tell the old pattern, right?
Right.
So how was it then? What was your preparation like then?
I wouldn't say CLAT was very different from what it is now. Primarily, what has changed is there's now a significantly greater focus on reading comprehension. But by and large, the subjects are still the same, and questions are also roughly on the same level and same pattern and all that. So so for what I did to prepare was I joined CL firstly. That was step one of my preparation, and that happened sometime, say 1.5 years before I wrote my clat. And of course, in 11th, you don't really take things seriously. You're still like having fun. You're just, like whatever, going to Ambrosia and Kaudia. That's the reason you're there. But then eventually you look around and you realize that there's a point in time when you start having to be serious. Fortunately, I figured when that was for me. Now coming directly in terms of preparation, right? Mock tests were like a very integral part of my preparation. I mean, Jijo sir was asking how many of you have written more than 20. I've written at least like 70, 80, right, over 1.5 years. So I think that really helped me. It's actually a shortcut in a way, right? Because it uh, gives you so many benefits, which I'm sure Midun sir will have elaborated on several times. But just to everyone who's listening, like mock tests are definitely the most integral part of your preparation. Okay. Uh, on other things, things have now changed, right? Now there's a far greater focus on English. Back then, the paper was more math oriented and logical reasoning was there. But here, I would advise all of you again to sort of, focus on critical reasoning, right? So essentially still the subjects are the same. So your preparation will sort of be the same and you'll still have to put the same number of hours, but just certain areas where you focus will be different.
Yeah. Right. So I think one more thing I think Abhiru forgot. I think Shweta knows, we have the study buddies, right? Shweta, you had two, buddies, who also made it. Even Saha had, buddies like, Kurola is not here, he's traveling. And also Vanessa was there. 3 of them got into, National Law School and with, under 500, right, Saha?
Correct, sir. Yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah.
Sir, continue.
Yeah. So that's the importance, I emphasis on having, good groups, having sharing ideas. I still remember Saha and Kurula used to come after St. Thomas, evening 5. He will sit there till, 7:30 till his mother comes to pick him up. Then only he leaves basically. So I would say like, leave Saha, leave. I need to, just go out, but they will sit there. They will sit there, they will, they'll come with some big, yearbook, right? Manorama yearbook or something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But in hindsight, the yearbook wasn't too useful, guys.
Yeah.
Like I was just doing things foolishly, focus on different things. But yes, sir.
Yeah, but things, so one thing is, having a good, study group, I think that definitely helps. But then, the objective should be, cracking the exam with a, very good mark or something like that. So Saga, so first was your preparation, right? Second thing I wanted to ask you is like, how was NLS life? That is what probably, Shweta or, Ashwin also would like to know. How was, was the life in NLS? What to expect? What will kids really get if they get into NLS?
So something Bharat said actually, struck me, and that was absolutely bang on, which is that law school is transformative, right? And it's not just NLS, but all law schools, like all top law schools, including Jindal also, I guess, are transformative, right? So firstly, you'll just see a different world that you haven't been exposed to in Trivandrum studying in schools. And that's great. Okay. It opens your mind in so many ways. You become acquainted with ideas you haven't really heard of, or even if you have heard of them, you never really thought of them seriously, right? In that sense, okay, so there's of course a bit of culture shock, right? Because suddenly you see people from all over the country, and people who are very different from you, right? There are people from villages also. You'd be surprised, but there are people from tier 4 cities who make it there, and then there are people from metros and everything. So it's a bit of a shock there. But then very soon you make a lot of friends, and you sort of really integrate with that vibe, and that ends up sort of opening up another different world for you. What I realized was important once I got into law school was the students around me, right? The people around me had such an impact that, like, I mean, I wouldn't be proud of this, but within like 2-3 months, I'm like thinking like them, like exactly how they think on certain ideas, like thinking like them. And that's, it's, so that was something that, that really like strikes you, that you start thinking a lot about things that you haven't thought of, and that's what you want to do, and other than that, I would say it's a lot of fun, right? That's of course something that gets understated often. People think law schools are really competitive, especially your NLS and all. People think there's cutthroat competition all the time. I'm sure that's generally what the rumor is, but it's often not the case. There are a few competitive people like in every sphere of life, but by and large, law school is extremely fun, right? Especially for us who have, like lived all our lives with our parents, suddenly going to Bangalore where like, you can like whatever, do anything you want. It's great. So I think these are the main things that sort of,
Parvati was smiling, okay, when
Yeah.
Saha was talking. So I think Parvati would like to add something to this. Parvati, please, I think you are also in the same college, 1 year junior, right? Yeah, I think you are. Yeah, so.
I agree with everything he said. It is a great experience. It's extremely transformative. Yeah, I think it is an incredibly fun experience, but it's also something that really opens you up to so many new kinds of experiences and gives you a different perspective. And I think what I really liked the most about being in college was that it gives you the space to think about whatever you want to do. Like, I think somebody mentioned it before, it's not just like, okay, you're studying law and everybody has to do one thing. So you see that even like within your batch, there will be different people who have different interests, and all of that gets somehow accommodated within that sort of atmosphere we have there. So whether it's people who want to work or read more about corporate law, or whether it's people who are more social justice oriented, or people who just don't even care that much about the law, but like the social sciences more, even that sort of gets accommodated within the kind of atmosphere we have there. And I think that's really great and gives you an opportunity to really figure out things about yourself.
Okay, so thank you, Parvati. And Gada, are you there? So Saha was talking about NLS. So what about NUJS? How's life in NUJS?
Okay. So I mean, I just want to sort of say that I was one of those really, really like privileged, like lucky people who had a blast of 5 years in NUJS. Like I feel like I genuinely got like the best deal out there, and I had an amazing 5 years. And I'm just so jealous of you all who are going to start your law school life, because like two people have already said, it's going to be a hell of a change. It's going to be so transformative. There's going to be so much unlearning and learning that you'll do in law school, because there's so much diversity out there. I think in NUJS there was, at the starting, there's always sort of there is definitely an exclusionary politics to it as well. I mean, CLAT itself is exclusionary. Depending on how much grasp over English you have, it excludes like a whole lot of students out there. And once you reach, there's definitely a lot of things that overwhelm you. And NUJS was equally chaotic, but I don't use that word in a negative sense. I use that in like an absolutely like positive sense, because there was just so much to take in and learn. I think finding a great like support system was definitely something that worked out very well for me. I feel like there was a space for everybody in college. Didn't matter what you were into, if it was mooting, debating, if it was dance and theater, if it was academics, if it was writing and researching. I genuinely felt like there was a place for everybody and like what you wanted to do, which sort of got created in NUJS. So I had a great time.
Okay, got it. So now I'll move to Kogul. So Kogul is a very special person, because he has studied CLAT in the old pattern. In fact, I think Bharat will also would have done that. You would have done the old pattern and new pattern, right, Google? So how do you compare the old and the new pattern?
So I think Bharat, Arundhati, Krishnapriya, all of them have been through this two CLAT situation. So basically, what I felt was, while I personally I had a huge problem with time. So earlier when there were 200 questions, the idea was try to hit 150 or more within the time that you get. And that was very hard for me. I wouldn't even cross 100 questions. I would hardly cross 70 or 80 back when I used to do the old mocks. But then when the questions got cut short, I definitely felt more confident. I thought, okay, now I'll do a larger percentage of questions than I used to before. So that relief was there. But other than that, especially the way that quantitative ability changed, like when it became data interpretation and things like that as compared to the earlier form of pure arithmetics that was there, I think it became a bit more accommodative. Like, though it was personally a bit more dry for me to look at charts and bar graphs and use patterns out of it, I prefer the other kind of maths, but I think it accommodates commerce and humanities students a lot more, because then when you go by the regular math system, it actually excludes a lot of people who are not very comfortable with maths. This had that advantage, I personally feel. Similarly, when it came to things like GK, in the year 2020, it was actually tough because we did not know how GK would turn out. Career launcher mocks definitely helped us in kind of changing with the situation, because we had different kinds of mocks put up in the website and different kinds of passages put up there. But then ultimately it was a huge gamble that year, and we weren't sure how the passages would be, what sort of passages would be there. But to be honest, at least when I wrote it, I did not see this year's question paper. The passages were more or less like the news articles that we read for like our current affairs in GK and all that. So in a way, it was also something that we were pretty much accustomed with if we were actively engaged in newspaper reading and things like that. So that's what I personally felt about it. So yeah, I believe the change was for good in a way. That's my take on it.
All right, thank you. And Gokul, you are not a repeater, right? You had it in your 12th, right? Yeah. So one more question I want to ask you. So in fact, most of the students, ask me this question: can you balance your 12th and CLAT?
So I might not be the best person to answer this, because after my 12th, I got a significant amount of time to prepare for CLAT, because the lockdown was put into place and we had CLAT after a delayed interval. But as I think I said earlier too, and many people here would also agree, CLAT is something that you can do if you have a good strategy for it. So what you need is the right strategy, and if you have the strategy in place, then you can compartmentalize your time and you can actually manage it in between school, especially if you are not in a very hectic stream, or if you have put your mind on CLAT in the beginning itself. By the time you reach your first models or second model exam in school, you would be thorough with your portions, or at least 50% of the portions. So you wouldn't have to put much strain into that anyway. So if you plan accordingly, let's say 1 year ahead, and you do like a regular set of mocks, and you just keep yourself aware of the things happening around you, by the end you can definitely cover all the GK and then fire up on the mocks and then complete a few mocks and give CLAT. There is no problem with it. That's what I personally feel about it.
So which means that you believe that it can be done, right? It can be done.
I personally believe it can be done. I mean, a large component of all competitive exams is luck as well. I mean, how much ever we prepare, we might not be able to clear it. So if at all, like, you try and it fails, it's not your fault. It's about the year, the 2 hours that you spend there, and a lot of things. But other than that, personally, I feel it's something that can be done definitely.
Okay, thank you, Gokul. Yeah, so I'll move to Ashwin. Now, Ashwin, as somebody told me, he had a short journey. Some, when compared to so many others, so Shweta or Arundhati or Krishnapriya, they had a long journey, right? Now, Ashwin is telling he had a short journey. So, how did you manage, to crack with an AI 555? It's like an awesome rank, right? So, how did you manage, and what was your preparation strategy? I think especially the kids who are in +2 or +1 right now would like to know this.
Regarding management, actually, so when I started preparing for CLAT, I had actually wrote my 2 models. So I was like pretty much acquainted with the school portions. So it was not a difficult thing. And when the exams got cancelled, I was very much sad because I couldn't write the exam. But now I'm grateful that CBSE cancelled it. So that gave me a lot of time to prepare. But honestly, just as Google told it, I don't think it is not that hectic to manage school as well as CLAT preparation. It can be managed. And about my strategy, I would say it was more mock based. I think I am grateful to Vishnu sir because he formulated a strategy for me to attempt the paper, and it really worked. Because before doing it in that pattern, I would actually see just 130 question or less than that. I would know there will be many questions which I would leave unattempted. But after I started attempting the paper in that particular strategy, it changed. Actually, I was able to visit all the questions, and the scores. Yeah, there was a increase in the scores as well. And then since mine was a very short journey, I had to resort to mocks. I took some like 30 to 40 mocks in the time being. Like from May 23, I joined Career Launcher Trivandrum, if I'm right. So from that to exactly 60 days. So in between that 60 days, I took some nearly 40 mocks, and that's it. Sir. That was how it happened for me.
Yeah. So you followed CL mocks, right? So you wrote all the mocks.
Yes, sir. Yes, right. Almost, sir. Yeah, I think I had but left one mock. I think. Yeah.
Yeah. So
just
did the
except that I attempted every mock.
Yeah. So you used to write
yes,
the
sir.
mocks.
Yes.
You used to analyze the mocks.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I used to go through the mock scores where I had went wrong. So actually, I'm really thankful to Career Launcher and the coaching at Career Launcher Trivandrum. It really helped. Actually, first of all, the strategy worked well. Then the logical reasoning. See, my problem was I was attempting the question in the wrong way. So Vishnu sir's logical reasoning classes and your classes as well, sir. That helped me to get it in the right sense. Then Parvati ma'am was taught me voluntary non-fit injury, so many legal principles. So actually that all that happened just 2 weeks before the examination, and I was really happy when I saw some of those principles coming in the question paper. Like I didn't really want to read the whole passage because I knew all that beforehand. So such kind of strategies really help, because if you can answer 5 questions without reading a long passage, that would definitely give you an advantage in the competitive examinations, obviously. That's it.
So Parvati's classes really help, right?
Yes, sir. Everyone's classes, actually. Your class, Krishna sir's class, Parvati ma'am's class, everyone. Tilaga ma'am also. Tilaga ma'am, her class was also good.
Yeah. Okay. So now I'll move to Shweta. Shweta, single digit, right? Single digit. So very simple. 4, right? So see, there can be a lot of questions here. How do you manage to get 4? But my question is, what was your expectation? Because when I asked Shweta regarding how much you score, so she told me till IELTS I'm not going to look at it. Sorry, till IELTS, till IELTS ends, I won't look at this. Sorry. So I was confused whether she has done well or what does it like. So Shweta, what did you expect?
Okay, so exam was easy. When I went through the paper, exam was easy. So I knew I had to attempt a lot, and I knew that I had attempted a lot. Again, I did not want to quantify it. So I did not even count my attempts, but I knew that I had attempted on the larger side, and I knew the cutoffs are going to skyrocket. So I was very scared about my accuracy. So I didn't know what to expect. So, but always I wanted to like get a seat in the top 5 colleges. So that was what I expected. And then on the day of the result, it was a very messy day actually, because we have been waiting for the result for a lot of hours. I was scrolling down the pages for hours from 2 o'clock. So then it became really hectic for me, and my sister counted my marks. And when I got to know something above 115 or near 115, I thought that I should expect top 3 for sure, but again I did not know. So before counting the marks, I was very tense, but then I thought that I'll make it into top 5. But then after counting the marks, I thought I'll make it into top 3. Single digit was never in my mind.
Okay, so yeah. I mean, you are a repeater, right? You repeated, right? Yes. Right. So what is your advice that you give to people who decide to retake this examination?
Yeah. So I think the first few months are important. Again, because when I saw my CLAT 2020 result, I knew that I was not getting into a tier 1 college. So I was not happy. And again, when that strikes, when you see that you don't get what you wanted, again that strikes your conscience and it hurts your ego also. So that gives you a motivation. So I think I made use of that very well. I really used my first few months. I cleared all my basics. Again, I did not have a very good preparation for CLAT 2020. So I went through the basics of all the portions. I started taking mocks properly. I analyzed them. So since this is the like initial month, if you are a repeater, then I think make use of this time, because again, you have your ego hurt because maybe you have not scored what you deserved or what you wanted. So just make use of that and work hard in the initial months, get your basics cleared. Maybe then what happened to me was the first few months were very rigorous, and in the middle, the pace was slow. And then again, during the second lockdown period, I was very aggressive because I was tense because the exam was not getting postponed. They made a delay in announcement of the postponement. So I was very scared. So at that point of time, again, I paced up. And after the postponement, I just paced it down. And again, towards the exam, when there was 32, 38 days or something like that, again, I became aggressive. I think that's what worked for me. So
and how many mocks you took? How many mocks?
Nearly 60, 70. I took 60 to 70.
60, 70. So yeah. I think Ashwin also 60, 70, right?
No, sir, no. 30, 40 range.
30, 40 range. And
yes.
Abhirup Saha told, he took 60, 70. So Arundhati, see, I wanted to ask you one question here. So can an average student crack CLAT with a good rank?
Average student?
Can an average student crack CLAT with a good rank?
Obviously, average student can crack an exam like CLAT because I was an average student. So definitely with the right strategy and with the right guidance, with the proper mock analysis, you can crack CLAT.
So what was your first mock score? First mock
score?
Yeah,
30,
first mock.
I think 34.25.
34. So with 34, which college will you get into? With 34, if you have in CLAT?
No, I don't think so.
So again, the audience who are here, when we stress on mocks, so what happens is, people take 5 mocks, okay, 5 mocks, then give it up, because I'm scoring 30s, 40s, right? Where will I get? Right. So that is something which is very important, right? The first mock, second mock, third mock, probably won't score that much, right? So how was your journey? So you got all India rank 3726, right, last year?
Yes. 2020.
So from 3726, you made it to 376, right? So can you just share the journey, right? Okay, again, you are a retaker, right? You are a retaker. Yeah. So can you just share your journey?
So in 2020, so I have a history of panic attacks. So I was giving my exam in 2020, and after I was done with English and GK, it's like, okay, it's done. Let's take a gap year. We'll write CLAT again. So that is decision to take a gap year was easy, but then executing the plan was difficult. And then for me, the most challenging was definitely to stay motivated throughout the entire repeating process. To staying motivated was really challenging for me. And then again, the mental support system from Vishnu sir, that was amazing. And then I took a lot of mocks, and then I properly analyzed it for like 5.5 hours. I took that much time to analyze the mock. So take mock and analysis. That was my taking mock just became the significant part of my preparation and analyzing the same. So yes.
So how many mocks you took? How many mocks?
Around 45 to 50.
50 mocks. And finally, what was your score? So you started with 32, and then you're ending at what?
92.5 for 2021 exam.
92, yeah. So almost triple the score, right? Which you first scored.
Yes.
Right. So that is exactly those. I think even Shweta will also agree to that, right? Initially, when you take, it will be like, Shweta, what is the first score? Remember, first mock score?
Yeah. When I started my 2021 preparation, the first mock score was 85, something like
85. So the first ever mock attempt.
Yeah. First ever for this year's preparation. Last year, if I start from the new pattern, first new pattern mock I gave, I think it was something around 50, 60.
Okay. Right. So Krishnapriya's journey. So again, you took a retake, right? So what was your strategy?
Strategy. First, I tried to do GK. I tried to cover GK every day, actually.
Okay.
Then
Okay.
last year, what went wrong was my GK and then my critical reasoning. It was
Okay. So what was your last year's rank, Krishnapriya?
4976, I think so. It was that thing.
Yeah. 4.9, right?
Yeah.
So from 4.9 to 916. Okay. Okay. Which means that you are significantly improved, right? Significantly
Yes,
improved.
but this rank could have improved if I was not impulsive. It cost me 4 questions because of the bubbling OMR sheet.
So Bharat is here. So Bharat, we have done a video with Bharat. Some more people, calls me and talks about, Bharat's journey. So what was that? It was been an incredible journey, right?
Yeah, I have talked about this like in depth, and there's a lot to go. But I'm just going to keep it preparation specific. So I prepared everything I had to, like by 2020, my comprehension skills are good enough, and like this model of CLAT in particular is, if you're good at reading, then you have a big head start right from the beginning. And I was very comfortable with English, logical reasoning, and legal reasoning by the time I was giving the exam, and I only prepared along with nuance for the last 2 months. So one thing that did really help me, and one thing I'd really recommend people to do, regardless of whether they're a dropper or a fresher or whatever, is that be structured with your preparation. Because when it comes to an exam like this, the only thing that's gonna do you any sort of favors is your strategy, and it's important to like some people, for example, it's CR heavy. It does not make sense to go around doing a lot of AR. And since my time frame for preparation was very limited, it was extremely specific. So yeah, I think that's what worked in my favor. Like all the other 3 sections, I did mocks, tried to figure out what mistakes I had done, and I made sure that I would not repeat those mistakes, because your mistakes generally come from a lack of conceptual understanding or a mistake in comprehension. So you'll be able to sense a pattern if you analyze it properly. So those 3 sections, pretty much that is enough. Like obviously it's not exhaustive, but for someone who's getting into preparation, that is enough. Like English, logical reasoning, and legal reasoning. And I think CL mocks are the closest that you'll find to the real paper. Quantitative techniques, again, is very subjective. So I was good at quant, I was not great at quant. So I did some basic books to brush up on my theory and assert on basically get my base correct on all kinds of questions. And GK, obviously, GK, I think this year's CLAT, the GK section was very controversial, but generally in a normal GK sense, then you just need to keep yourself updated on worldly affairs. So what I'd say is that just don't treat this as preparation, take it as a holistic thing, because reading is something which will serve you well. If you're coming into law school, there's a lot of heavy readings you're supposed to be going through. So reading, having a reading habit helps. Like more than speed, focus on your comprehension, because in one read through, if you're able to get the whole thing, then that will do favors for you. So reading, just make a point to read along with your preparation. Don't be monotonous about it. Just don't sit and prep all the time, because at the end of the exam is arbitrary. You'll have to re-strategize when you go into the exam hall. Math, just make sure you know how to derive data, you know how to identify data, and you know how to execute the formulas properly, because this pattern, it gives you all the data. You don't have to make fresh data. Just interpret the data properly, apply it. Especially this year's pattern, I think a lot of people do this mistake of not even going to the math section. I was very clear with myself that I have to do math, because those 10, 12, 15 marks are what sets the toppers apart from, like basically someone who gets in the top 6 university from someone who does not get into the top 6 university. And like one last thing I'd say from a personal level is that do not be fixated on a particular university when you're preparing. Like Gijo said, try to give maximum test possible. My case was very unique in the sense that I was part of a national law university. I didn't have to particularly go ahead and do this, but I had very personal reasons to want to do this. That's why I was fixated on one particular university. But then, like all law universities offer you something. Do not think that I'm studying to get into this university, because at the end of the day, that's honestly taking a burden upon yourself when you're going into the exam hall. Do not do that. Like go there with a free mind. The results will follow. And if you do your preparation right, and if you focus on maximizing your scores on the day of the exam, and you're well balanced, then the results will follow. So do not focus too much on the results. Just focus on the process. It's a fun process in itself.
Okay. Thank you, Bharat. So Shweta, so normally people ask what went right. So there are a lot of things which are went wrong. Correct. So what are the things you would advise the aspirants that there can be a situation where you can do these mistakes. Please avoid these mistakes, right? So according to you, what are the mistakes you do in preparations which you should avoid basically?
Yeah. I think the first mistake you should avoid is not analyzing mocks properly. And again, you may think that you are analyzing it properly, but sometimes you are not actually doing that. So for the initial mocks, maybe take some guidance from your mentors. So just sit with them, go through the questions, and understand what's their perspective about analyzing mocks and what you think it is, and sit with them, and then maybe in the first initial mocks you will get an idea how that goes. So the first mistake I think a lot of us do is not analyzing mocks properly, and I think it's imperative that you analyze it.
So how many hours you analyze mocks, Shweta?
Yeah, again, that is subjective, because if it's like my initial mocks, usually I think the first mock I think I took the whole day. Like I just read the newspaper and then I spent the whole day analyzing that mock. Again, I was very slow and I knew I had to like restructure the everything from my last year's preparation. So I think for that specific case, I took a whole day. Obviously, you cannot do that for every mock. You cannot spend the whole day for analyzing a mock. If it's an easy mock, then maybe 3 hours, 2 to 3 hours. And if it's a tough mock, then I took 4 to 6 hours. Yeah, that was subjective.
So 4 to 6 hours of analysis. So people think, mock analysis 20 minutes thing, okay, 20 or 30 minutes. So I'll just look at which are questions wrong, just see to it, leave it, 20 minutes. So people, when Shweta told, 6 hours, many people were surprised, right? So Shweta did an interview, and in fact in the interview also she told 6 hours. So what do you do in the 6 hours?
Okay, so again, I take 6 hours when it is very tough. So again, when you have that anxiety, you have that curiosity of what went wrong. So what I do is I'll reread the passage. Obviously, this is a reading comprehension oriented paper. If you have done a mistake, then obviously it's because you read something in a wrong way. Maybe you misinterpreted the text, or you did not read the question properly or the options properly. So I read the whole. I read it the questions, and first of all, I went through the wrong questions. So if I have 5 wrong questions, and if there are 5 different passages, obviously I have read all the complete English section maybe in the whole go. And now I remember the text. I'll go through the wrong questions, and then I'll understand the logic. Then I'll go to the unattempted questions. I'll go through the logic, and then I'll go to the attempted question, and I'll verify if my logic was correct or not. That went for the 3 reading sections, that is English, logic, and legal. And for QT, I was good with QT, so I ensured that I don't make any silly mistakes, because that's something which I couldn't afford to do, because I was good at it, and that was something where I could score, because I was not a voracious reader before. So all the reading habit I developed was through this 10 months. So I in the initial time, I had to ensure that I score a good chunk of marks from QT if the section comes out to be easy. So I
think this has to be noted. So the Shweta is telling 10 months you improved your reading, right?
Yeah. This 10 months has played a very big role in everything. Even if the books I read, also the newspaper, everything, my reading has improved tremendously in these 10 months.
So basically people ask me, okay, so now for the next class you have 10 months, right?
Yeah.
So can I improve so suppose I have no reading, okay, no reading.
Yeah.
So can I improve my reading in this 10 months and write CLAT?
Yeah.
And get a good rank?
See, again, I had to do this because I just signed up for this and there was no other way out. So it was imperative for me to do this. So I had to find a way out. And the only way to crack this is just get into reading. If I had to improve my reading, I have to read newspapers regularly. I have to read one book every 1 or 2 weeks. But not towards the end of the preparation months, of course, but at least in the first 7-8 months, that was imperative for me. If you are signing up for this and you know you are not good in reading, the only thing you can do is just get into reading. I think that's the only thing you can do. Yeah.
Okay. So, Padmi used to, used to have this reading habit before taking CLAT. You used to read things. How was it for you?
Yeah, I think I used to read quite a bit, but I used to mostly read fiction before. And for me, I think what really helped was, although I did most of my prep in 12th grade, in 11th grade, I used to, I really built up a base in terms of understanding concepts, whether it was in the legal reasoning section or in the quantitative aptitude section. I used to just, even before I started practicing questions, I used to read up these concepts to try and understand what they were. And before I started doing mocks, I had a pretty fair understanding of the concepts that the questions were based on. So because of that, I think even from my first mock test itself, I'm not saying this is a great score or anything, but I started from scoring, so when I wrote the exam, it was out of 200 marks, 200 questions, 200 marks. So I started scoring from around the 80, 85 range and sort of built up from there. So I think, of course, I agree with everybody. I think the most important part of your prep is doing mock tests, but having this sort of reading and this sort of base kind of helps you push the starting point a little.
So I'll tell the background of these people for the information once again. So Abroop is a pass out of NLS. Now he's working with a firm called Saraf and Partners. Parvati is again NLS pass out 2021. She is about to join an institute. So now, but she's currently taking sessions for us in legal. Bharat is actually from Nuals. But between guys, you can ask questions. Okay, so you can ask questions in between. So Bharat is from Nuals, but now he'll move to NLS. So Nuals to NLS, that's great. Gokul is first year in Nuals. 2020 he cracked it, and first year in Nuals. Shweta is in NLS now after cracking 2021. Arundhati 376. Now she's she got an allotment in MNLU, so she'll be joining MNLU. Ashwin is 555 this year, right? So Ashwin got an allotment in Odisha, right? And Krishnapriya 916 Odisha this year. Gada is 2020 pass out of NUJS. Now she is working with social justice, right? Gada, you're working with
Center for Social Justice.
Center for Social Justice. So she's working with an NGO, right? Center for Social Justice. So this is the profile of our guest here. So now you can ask the questions.
Shweta in specific and to others in general. And my question was regarding how to analyze the mocks properly. And my concept of analyzing mocks was just going through the questions that we went wrong and just, just knowing the correct answers. And I didn't know this was such a time-consuming work. So how my doubt was regarding how to analyze a mock properly.
So Shweta has already answered it, but I'll ask somebody else. Now I think Shweta has already answered that. I'll ask Arundhati then, same question. Arundhati, how to analyze mocks?
Okay, so you need to give considerable amount of time in analyzing mocks. What I made sure was avoid the repetition of mistakes, because you get to learn where you went wrong. You'll see your weak areas, and then so strengthen your maximize your strong areas and then minimize your weak areas. Learn from your mistakes, analyze GK, give importance to GK, and then avoid the repetition of mistakes, because once you analyze the mocks, you'll be familiar with the mistakes you make frequently, and make sure you avoid repeating those mistakes once you take the next mock or on the actual D-Day. So yeah.
And how many hours you used to analyze mocks, Arundhati?
Sir, I think it's subjective. I spent almost five and a half hours analyzing a mock. So it doesn't matter if you take 6 hours, you just have to be productive.
So even Shweta was also telling the same thing, right? If you're properly analyzing the mock, you will take 5-6 hours, yes. Right? And one more thing I wanted to ask, this question anybody can take, okay? So see, people believe that this mock analysis is a tedious thing and a boring thing, right? Right. So how can you make mock analysis a little interesting? Anybody can take this question. How can you make this a little interesting? People feel it's a boring affair, right? 6 hours mock analysis. And people think that it's not even studying, okay, it's analysis. So they think that this is not part of the studies, right?
I'd like to take this actually.
Yeah, Bharat.
So I think mock analysis is something which would be made fun if you have a friend or a batchmate who's preparing for CLAT, because what I used to do is I'd take an hour's break after taking a mock, and then I'd watch a sitcom or I'll talk to a friend and then I'll analyze. So analyzing too, if you analyze a mock in a very like on the same day itself, then you remember most of the questions. So you don't have to spend too much time analyzing the whole thing, right? Because everything's fresh in your memory. Okay, just like boom, okay, I made this mistake. Then if you have a friend or someone, just call them up and talk to them, because then you will be able to make a fresh strategy, or you'll be able to go through. If you're taking the same mock the same day, especially, you can like cross analyze or try to help each other out of the whole thing. It does not have to be this one thing where you're mechanically going through each question. Okay, this is what I did wrong. And I think some of my friends used to do this, and this has helped them. They keep a diary. So what they do in the diary is like each, like I said, they'll analyze it in the same day, and that's obviously the mistakes follow a pattern, right? So just note on the pattern of mistakes. And next mock is more of a challenge to not repeat the same mistakes. So these are ways in which you can make your analysis more interactive and not make it a very drudgerous thing to go through.
Okay. Yeah, that's pretty interesting, Bharat. So probably you can have a friend, and also start discussing about the mock, what went wrong, right? What went right, and then probably make it more interesting. So Alan, I guess that question is answered.
Sir, I have a question for Shweta.
Shweta.
It would be great, yeah. It would be great if I could know how many hours she spent on a daily basis for the preparation of CLAT, and also the way she prepared for GK.
Yeah, so I was this paranoid person because again, I told you once the results came out, it really hurt my ego. Even though I did not prepare well, I was obviously I was sad. So even if I sit down with my parents to chit chat for an hour or something, I used to be like, God, what am I doing? I have to go and study. But then that doesn't work out every time. Okay, so it's very important to strategize your day. Towards the end of the, I had this app again. I don't know whether it will work for everyone or not. I had this app called Save Your Time, and I used to track my 24 hours over there. So I'll know where I have spent the time, where I have spent time reading newspaper. Then I'll understand if I have spent more time in reading newspaper, doing GK and all that stuff. So maybe you should try that out. It's called Save Your Time, and towards the end of your preparation,
so Save Your Time is an app, right?
App, yeah, it's an app. So every time you open,
Save Your Time.
Shweta's
mantra for success. Save your time.
That can I'm warning you, because that can again backfire sometimes, because sometimes you end up not studying that much, but it's completely okay. It's okay to take a day off. And sometimes when you see that that statistics, it may strike you and you may get anxious or something. So just be cautious about what you're doing. So I had this app. Towards the end, I did not refer to it because towards the last 1 month, you are completely into it. You can burn out, I guess. So towards the end, it will be 10, obviously more than 10 hours. If not, and for the normal time, it was in the initial months too, I used to spend 8 to 10 hours, because I was becoming thorough with all the basics and stuff. And towards the middle, I think it was obviously about 5 hours. Obviously about 5 hours. I have surely spent 5 hours every day for CLAT in the past 10 months. And again, because I was really paranoid, I was really scared about the results and all that stuff. It depends on person to person. I know my friends who don't spend more than 8 hours, 10 hours for CLAT, even in their last days. So it depends on person to person. And so
on an average 5 hours, right?
Yeah, on an average, obviously.
That is because you are a retaker. You have got time also.
Yes, I have a lot of time, and I have this big pressure upon my head because I haven't taken it year off, and I need to.
But then Shweta, if it is a +2 kid, how many hours can you spend?
Again, I don't think I'm the best person to comment on that. Yeah.
I would actually like to answer that.
Yeah.
So at least back in my time, CLAT wasn't so competitive. So repeating also wasn't so common. A lot of people who wrote with me, including myself, we were all first timers. So part of the reason I took CLAT is because you could do it along with your studies, right? Don't think that it's not possible, because it really is. And with regard to how many hours you should put in, right? I don't think there's a set answer for that. There's no such thing that 10 hours would work for everyone or 5 hours would work for everyone. You have to understand where you are placed, right? So, and how do you get that? By writing mock tests, by speaking to your faculty, speak to Midun sir and all, they'll give you a fair idea of where you stand. You will know, right? For example, if you get like a 40 or a 50 in a mock score, you know how much Shweta and Bharat and all of them had to score to get into NLS, right? So you know the marks you'll have to score to get into a top law school, and you'll know how much you have to study to get there, right? So first, just give yourself some time to get acquainted with all the basic concepts, write a few mocks, and then you'll know exactly how much time to put in and in which subjects to prioritize. But speaking from personal experience, weekends I used to focus on CLAT, right? Saturday, Sunday, I used to go to LST, put in quite a bit of effort. In the weekdays, what I ensured was every day I read the newspaper, right? That's something you have to do, not just for GK. GK, honestly speaking, the newspaper doesn't even help that much. But where it does help is it makes you a smarter person, right? You end up coming to terms with so many things that you wouldn't have otherwise known, right?
So, for the new pattern, everybody speaks about importance of reading newspaper, but back then also reading newspapers was important, right?
Absolutely. And I mean, I just speak about the number of ways it helps you out, right? Like when I used to read the newspaper, almost every day I used to come across, say, 3-4 words that I hadn't even heard of before, right? So that automatically helps you in English. So it just helps you in numerous ways. So that's, of course, something you must do, all of you, every day. Other than that, put in, say, 1 or 2 hours, put in 2 hours at least, right? Every day. CLAT has become competitive. I won't tell you guys to, just take it casually, read the newspaper and you'll all make it, because the truth is there are people right now in Bhopal, in Jaipur, in these CLAT hubs who are literally spending 12 hours every day, right? From day one till the day after CLAT also, they're putting in 12 hours, probably in preparation for the exams that come after, right? So it's fine. You don't have to compete with them in terms of the number of hours. Figure out where you stand and prepare accordingly.
So for that, to figure out, taking mocks is something which is very important, right?
Yeah.
Sir, I had a question, and my question is particularly intended towards the GK section, because it's very vast, and I just wanted to know the depth of coverage of each topic. Anyone can take this question. There is no particular kind of thing. Anybody can take it. The depth and only newspaper would suffice, or like which all sources we should refer, and so it is particularly intended towards GK section.
GK. So who would like to take this up? GK, Arundhati?
Use Manthan and newspaper.
So that helped, right? Bharat?
It did.
Probably I'll ask everyone GK, because GK can be, different strategy for different people, right? So Arundhati is saying Manthan chapters of Career Launcher and newspaper. And Bharat?
Sir, so this is the general advice I give, given, the pattern change in GK too.
Yeah.
See, this year's CLAT, I'm pretty sure it's an anomaly, and next year you will probably be reverting to in-depth analysis of topics rather than dates. But like, just as a caveat, I tell you, make sure you're not missing out on dates and themes and the static element component of it, because it's easy to overlook that. Given the unpredictable nature of CLAT, do not shirk on that. But given your main focus or strategy towards GK, I think this is a common trend you'll find in whoever has managed to ace the exam. They all have had a set of their own comprehensive notes. So CLAT, at least in the syllabus they've told you, they expect you to have an in-depth understanding of affairs around you. And I don't think any single source can give you a comprehensive overview of all those things. So, for example, you'll get some tidbits in the newspaper, you'll get some through videos you watch on YouTube, you'll get some through online UPSC compendiums. So what I would say is the best and most optimal way to go about it would be to create your own notebook. I did not like making notes, so I had like an online database of GK topics. So I make this heading, I keep updating it. So by the time my prep was nearing its end, the last 1 or 2 weeks, I didn't have to necessarily run through a lot of sources. I had my notes. So I just reviewed my notes around 5 to 7 times, and I was well set to go for the paper. And once you're giving marks, you'll obviously be revising the same concepts and give some importance to what topics appear in marks.
How much did you score for in GK?
So I think around 23. Yeah.
23. Yeah.
Like,
Gokul, your 2020 GK. Remember those chapters?
Yes, sir. It was actually tough, but I personally think I cleared class because of my GK section. It was, I mean, I was overconfident with my quants, and as a result, I did not touch quants for the exam. But I scored because of my GK section, and that was basically because, I mean, as you said, strategies are different for different people. So, you know how when you open Google on your phone, you get these suggestions from Google, which might usually be about topics that you look up mostly. So in my phone and my father's phone, my father was also very much involved in this. So at night, he would send me all the news he thinks might probably come from my class, and I will also have my list. So every day I used to go through like 20 articles of random things. And what Bharat said is very important. I personally preferred hard notes, that's notebooks. So I kept notebooks and I wrote it down, but it's smarter to put it in a digital form because you can keep updating whenever you want and accumulate data. And the biggest thing is this idea of accumulated knowledge. That's very important because a lot of times you will have to guess what the answer is or eliminate a few answers and then come to one answer. You might not know the exact answer, and in most cases you won't know the exact answer.
That is exactly what Bharat told in 2021 as well, right? Bharat, you eliminated that Bangladesh Mujibur Rahman, right? That question you eliminated 2 options and you got it right, but you didn't know the answer basically.
Yeah, this especially CLAT, as in the they'll give you 2 sets of options which are similar, 2 sets which are not similar. The example I had cited, which sir is referring to, is that we had been asked like what was the year Mushrikh Rahman was assassinated in. Rahman, as you might know, is the father of Bangladesh. So again, Bangladesh was liberated in 1971. So any option is not 1971 is automatically wrong. So option which had 1971 was only 2. So it's a 50-50 chance. So if it's a 50-50 chance, you should take it. And a lot of such options turned out to be in my favor once I was able to eliminate. So that's a handy skill you only get with regular prep for GK.
GK and Krishnappriya, like how was your GK? What was your preparation strategy for GK?
Okay, for GK, I tried to read Mountain. I think I completed that. Then I did that. In the back of Mountain, there are so many questions, MCQs. I did that. Then there was in the CL, there's Kandak Ricer is there. He's taking classes for GK. So I attended all his classes. Then there's a special master stroke. He gives important topics, and I took that. I did research on it. Then for the mocks also, I think I spent a lot of time reviewing GK. I read all the answer keys. Then I made hard copy notes. Then I revised that notebook. I think I had 3 notebooks for that. Then I revised the notebooks and and I didn't read the newspaper. That was a problem. But I tried reading some important articles which I found very important. That's it, sir.
Were you a regular newspaper reader? Like, no. Okay. So Ashwin, what was your GK strategy?
So my strategy basically involved Manthan. Manthan was actually my savior because since I had when 12th started, it was the online classes started as early as at 7 o'clock. So I had the habit of reading newspaper and I left that for my online classes. And since I was not serious about CLAT until December, I was like, I was actually detached from the world of current affairs. So I used to, after I subscribed to LST, I used to go to the website and will download the Manthan of previous months, then refer them in the night, make notes from them, and used to do like that. But still, I think since I had, I just had 2 months, so I could not make it to 100% perfection anyways. So I feel if I had read newspaper from the initial month itself, I could have done a better way. So I would advise everyone to never ever lose out on that particular thing. Like cling to your newspaper. That's going to be the savior. Then refer Manthan for assistance. That would be my advice, I would say.
Yeah, so we have covered legal. Parvati has given an idea, and GK. In fact, I'm not asking Shweta because she already told, what was her strategy. She read newspapers basically.
Yes. So I'll like to ask 2 questions, sir. First, my question is: as of now, everybody emphasized on the importance of reading newspapers.
Right.
So my question is how to actually read this. I mean, should we read the whole thing, or should we read the? Should we read the whole thing with the with same amount of focus, or should we focus on certain things? and then like leave other things. And they some of them also told about the importance of reading books. So what kind of books are like important for with the perspective of CLAT?
Yeah, I think Shweta can take that up. So Shweta is like, she reads everything. Okay, she even covers a sports page, right?
Yeah. So
Yeah.
actually I did that in my initial months. As I told you, I was frantic at that point of time. I was not interested in sports. So what I did was I was not into economics. I read this economics page of the newspaper, financial news, and I was not into sports. So I read the sports news. And again, through the, I think, newspaper reading, again, you cannot put in the step, like step 1 this is your step, and step 2 you cannot you cannot specify that. It's very subjective. And I think once you get a hang of reading newspaper, it is quite intuitive. When you read it, you understand. And actually when you read a point, you will understand that okay, something is going, I am sure this news article is going to repeat tomorrow also, and it is going to go long for a lot of time. So that's actually intuitive. So I think to get the perfect strategy of reading newspaper is getting into the habit of reading newspaper. So if you're confused, just read everything. Again, if you are a dropper, I can speak only for those people who are dropping the year, because I don't know how the time constraints will be for those people taking it with 12. So for people like me, what I did was I read everything, and then I got to know what is helpful and what is not. And then the thing I continued reading every time was editorials. I love in the initial phase I hated reading editorials, but towards the end I loved reading editorials. And actually I think some authors repeat, and when I see the author, I'm like quite interested, and I'll be like, okay, what is the new point this person is going to bring? So you get interested in it. So I never left out. If I'm reading the newspaper, then I'll surely read the editorials, both the editorial page and the op-ed. I read Hindu, so I'll surely read it. Sometimes you won't get important news, not always. You won't. Some days you just have to read the editorial because there are no significant news in the national or international sphere. So you read the editorials properly. Sometimes they are just reiterating the old important points. So that's how you can do it. So just get into the habit of reading. Maybe if you're confused, read everything, maybe for a month, then you will and try attempting mocks and just look around you, how the preparation is going. Then you just, your intuition will say, okay, this is important and this is not important. And if I come to books, I used to read books, and what I read was fiction, and I was not a voracious reader. And if I get something interesting, like I used to mainly read fiction books, and maybe something like some prominent books like Wings of Fire, something like, maybe that was one of the only non-fiction book I read. So I wanted some motivation. I think that was the first book I reread. Wings of Fire was the first book I reread.
Right, Shweta. Sorry to interrupt, but that is one point I will also see. If you are reading some books, anyways you're dropping 1 year, read something which is worth it, right?
Yes.
Anyways you're dropping 1 year. So instead of reading some books which is not that worth it, probably something which motivates you, that helps, right?
Yes.
And also, Shweta, while taking CL mocks, right? When you take the mocks, you will get a direction, right, regarding what to read.
Yeah. That's what I said. Once you read the newspaper, you read everything. You read like some random books maybe, but then once you start taking mocks, you understand what do you need, where do you lack. Then you get a direction. Again, no one can tell you, okay, do this and that. It's you have to find out. It's all about self-awareness. This whole CLAT journey is about self-awareness. Actually, it's about what you are weak at, what you are strong at. And your journey is yours. No one is going to have the same strategy or the same preparation thing which you had. No one is going to it. So it's all about understanding who you are as a person.
Yeah. So Nandita, yes, Nandita, you have wanted some question. Nandita, what was it? You can just unmute your mic. Yeah.
I would like to know about the daily routine as a dropper in both mock day as well as the normal day. I would like to hear the answer from either Shweta or Arundhati.
So Shweta has answered earlier, so Arundhati will answer this. Routine.
Okay, so I begin my day with reading Hindu. That just became this habit. So Hindu was really important. And I hate reading business and sports page. So I skipped reading business and sports page. And I focused on month-end financial and sports news so that I could cover up all those topics. And then I gave importance to the first page because that is a reserved page. Most of the important notes will be covered in the first page, and then editorial is really important. So, and then if it's a mock day, because I am a night bird. I hate waking up in the morning. I prefer studying till 5, 4 in the morning and then waking up at 11. I prefer that routine. So when I wake up at 11 till 1, I'll read the newspaper. And then 2 to 4 is a mock time. And then I take a break. I take my dog out for a walk. And then I come back at 5 and then I analyze the mock till 10, 10:30, I analyze them. And then it's GK. I give focus on GK, then focus to GK. And then if it's not a mock day, again, pretty much the same newspaper, and then topic test and sectional test, and then importance to quantitative aptitude. So yeah.
How were you people able to manage between all those things, like time management and accuracy together? What were your strategies?
So I think Bharat, because Bharat didn't have time because he was only in WAS, like because he had his time split it between WAS, right, academics, and then CLAT, right. So Bharat, what is the time management and thing? How should you?
Pooja, could you be a bit more specific? Are you talking about like time management for preparation or time management on the like exam for the real exam or a mock?
I meant exams, like time management and also accuracy. How to manage both of them?
To be honest, Pooja, I think it's a skill you develop more than anything else because see, there's this anxiety which comes on the day of the paper. I think everyone in this call probably felt that, and there are surprises on the day of the exam. So some things you're not necessarily ready for. So that's this sort of temperament you need to persist, and I think that comes from giving mocks. So when you're giving a mock, treat it pretty much like a real paper. Those 2 hours, be in a zone where no one's bothering you, and when you're taking mocks, you have this freedom for experimenting. The sections you start with, or this order you follow, or how much time you spend. I think I used to experiment a lot with my mocks. I remember there was this one mock where I tried finishing English in 15 minutes because that was my strong section. Turned out to be dumb because like my marks were lower. So you gradually strike this balance. You become comfortable with the way of attempting the paper, where you're allotting this time to a section. So one thing I'd recommend is that do not compromise on your accuracy for speed. Speed is something that will come gradually the more you practice. But your accuracy is something that will serve you well in the long run, till the day of the exam, and on the day of the exam, more important.
Very good point, Bharat. This is what I emphasize. Because some people will jeopardize accuracy for speed, right? That is something which is foolish to do, right? If you don't get the questions right, even if you do 150 questions, it doesn't make sense. So correct, good point. Absolutely agree with that, Bharat. So thanks, guys. See you soon. All the best. NLS days, NUJS, Odisha days, MNLU days coming up. For Ashwin, Delhi University. Ashwin, wishing you a very good time in Delhi, whichever university you get.
Thank you, sir. I don't know this year. I mean, I'm still keeping that stand. This year, the cutoffs may skyrocket. But anyway, sir, I'll keep that wishes anyways. And I'm really grateful to you as well.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you, Shweta. Gokul again, Arundhati, Krishnapriya, Bharat. Bye-bye.